Hey everyone, it's Michelle Lloyd here, founder of United Art Space. In this video, I'm going to talk all about pricing. It's one of the biggest questions that I get asked. It's one of the most complex questions to answer because there are so many variables that affect pricing, and it can be really, really confusing and overwhelming. First of all, before I get stuck in, I just want to say a big welcome. I'm somewhere different. I'm in my dining room today, and I'm just about to put everyone who's joining the hub on post-it notes in the background. You'll see I sat this morning. Look at all these are all people who've joined the hub, so welcome. We literally have people joining from the UK, lots of people from Canada, Croatia, quite a few people from Croatia. We've already got quite a lot of members from Croatia. There's even a Croatia group inside the hub. The Netherlands, USA, Ireland, South Africa, France, Italy. Yeah, lots. But what I like to do is I like to sit and read where everyone's joining, and I like to write your name on a post-it note, and I give you a little thanks as you join. And it's like a little bit of a ritual. I sit with my cup of tea and I thank you all and then acknowledge you on a post-it note. So the wall behind me will become full of people who are joining the hub. So very big welcome to everyone who's signing up. Can't wait to put you on the wall, and we'll do a week of welcome next week inside the hub to properly welcome you and settle you in and help you navigate your way around. And then I'll be live as well tomorrow inside the hub as well to give you a little welcome and a session over there. So hello everybody. So today I'm going to talk about pricing. It's such a tricky one. It really is. It's painful. It's painful for everybody. And I just want to say as well on pricing, for artists, it's especially difficult, but it's difficult for all different industries. When people are starting out, it's really hard to know what to price at, I think. I see lots of people in lots of industries struggling with this. So it's one of those things that's difficult to do at the beginning. And then when you start to learn more about your artwork, who it's for, things start to fall into place. So what I would say, I want to talk about kind of like the life cycle of pricing. And I will share some tips with you in this video that I've picked up along the way in terms of pricing. I wish I could give you some magic formula that just goes, here you go, this is what your work is worth, and go on your way. And it literally does not work like that. And that's why it's so confusing, because an artwork is worth what someone is willing to pay. So this is why there's such a big, diverse range of prices, especially in the art world. You can go to an art fair and see something that's £5,000, dollars, euros, whatever your currency is. And you'll go somewhere else and see a similar kind of work for a few hundred. And that's where it gets really confusing, because you think to yourself, well, the artwork is basically the same. I bet it took the same amount of time, and it's confusing. And what I will say is there are lots of things that affect pricing, And one of those things that affect pricing is knowing your place. And at the beginning, when you're starting out, you don't know your place. You don't know who your customers are. You don't know where you're going to put it. But when you start to learn more about who your people are, the context of where your work is going to go, you'll start to learn more about pricing then, and you'll be able to increase your pricing. So this is what we teach over inside the hub. We teach you how to learn where to start to put your work, because the context of your work and where you put it will impact the price. So if you're just starting out and you don't know who your people are, you don't know where to even start with pricing, and maybe someone has seen something and they've said, I love this, I'd like to buy it. That's usually what happens. That's usually how it starts. You put things on social media and someone goes, oh, I like that. How much is it? And you go, oh, I don't know. And then people run into the hub and go, I've just been asked how much my work is and I don't know what to say. And if I got £1 for every time I got that message, I'd be very, very rich. And so basically at the very, very beginning, what I would say is nothing is set in stone. And what you price at in those early stages can be something that you're just happy with and you're not making a loss on. This isn't a long-term way of pricing. But in those early stages, I see people panicking. And I think the panic comes, you don't want to overprice, you don't want to underprice. And because you're right in thinking that pricing is about something you have, somebody wants something, and it's that sweet spot in the middle where it crosses over. You've got something, somebody wants something, and they want to buy it. And there are so many ways that you can increase that desire as well, which I'm going to talk about in this video. But at the very, very beginning, if you haven't sold anything before, just get a price on it. Get a price, work out what your materials cost you, and a fair price that you're happy with. As long as you're not making a loss, make that sale. Because the feeling that you get from making that first sale is incredible. And it's a confidence boost. And it's then you're able to say, I've sold a piece of artwork. You can get a testimonial from them. You can put it on your social media and say, I've just sold, here it is on the wall. So there is a lot to be said for that confidence that those sales bring you. Now, pricing in that way long term by just adding a little bit on that you're happy with isn't the best way to price going forwards forever. But at the early stages, it's fine because you're selling just to a few people, you're finding your place, and it's okay. It's okay if you made a mistake and maybe your work could have cost a lot more, but you'll learn that from doing. And the worst thing an artist can do is put their prices high, and price themselves out of the market so they're not hitting that sweet spot. So it's easier to go, when I say go down the lower end, I don't mean selling right down the low end where you're really struggling and it's cheap and you're making a loss. But when you start out, first of all, just go for that price that you're happy with and you're making a bit of money. Then what happens after that, and this is what we teach you inside the hub, is you will start to learn where to put your work. More importantly, you'll learn who your customers are. And it's very difficult to price your work when you don't know who your people are. So when you start to learn more about where your art fits in the world, who your people are, you can then start to do a little bit of research, and you have to become a detective. And this is what I was saying the other day about sometimes go and visit galleries, go and look for artwork as if you're a buyer yourself. See what's out there and be armed with that information. So learn about what other artworks are selling. Why are they more expensive? Where are they? What experience do they have? And start to be very, very conscious about pricing of other artworks. Look online, go and check out people's websites and just get a feel and a sense for what other people are selling artwork for. And that gives you some confidence then in what others are doing, because what you need to be careful of is that you're not pricing through your own perception of what you think is cheap or expensive. Because Maria Brophy is to thank for this advice. She was the one that gave us this advice when she came in as a guest. And it's such amazing advice, because you're cheap or you're expensive is not going to be expensive to somebody else. So you might think $200 feels really expensive for your artwork, and to somebody else, it's peanuts. It's nothing. They are used to spending so much more on artwork. So you should never price based on your own assumptions. That being said, you need to be confident about your pricing as well. So this is what I want you to realize is whatever you price at the beginning, it's not set in stone. You can learn by doing. And the more you put yourself out there and you figure out where your people are, where you're putting yourself, you'll start to learn more about pricing and you adjust your pricing. But never price based on what you feel is expensive. But you do have to feel confident. And there are ways that you start to learn how you increase that demand as well. So when you start out, you've got something and there's people over here that want something, and it's about how you bring them in and you hit that sweet spot between what you have and what somebody else wants. And sometimes at the beginning, Sharon did this, she was pricing down at a lower end compared to where she is now. And it wasn't selling. It wasn't selling that price. She'd sell odd pieces. And on paper, when she worked out how many pieces she'd need to sell to make a living, it was never going to happen because she was thinking at this price point, I'm never going to be able to make a living. So this is something else to bear in mind as well, is don't get disheartened if you are working out your pricing right now, thinking, how on earth am I ever going to make this happen? I'm saying this because the mindset and the fear can take over and stop you from even pursuing art as a career because you think, well, there's no point. But what I have found many, many times is the price that you're charging right now won't be the price that you're charging in a year and a year and after that and a year after that and in 5 years' time, because you want to be on a sliding scale of putting your pricing up. And this is what we teach inside the Hub through our 7 Keys course. It's how you create more connection to your artwork, how you choose the places where you put your artwork so that you are going to get your artwork in front of the right people instead of guessing. And all of this contributes to more desire for your artwork, for your pricing to go up. And that's what Sharon found when she started to really put her artwork in the right places. Her artwork started to go up. And what she found was those prices were too cheap. Now, you'll soon learn if your pricing is too cheap, and you can't underestimate, learn from doing, learn from mistakes. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes at the beginning. Don't beat yourself up if you're underpriced or if you're overpriced. And it is tricky at the beginning. You have to get going. You've got to put a price on it and you've got to get going. So putting a price on based on what you feel is at the very beginning stages. And then what you want to do as you start to learn more is really pay attention to what other people are charging. Start to pay attention to where you're putting your work, how much things are selling for in those environments, who your people are. And that's something that we help you with inside the Hub. And then you'll start to really get confident with your pricing. You'll start to learn as well how to price your work properly, not just based on the materials plus a little bit. You'll start to learn the value of your artwork and learn that there's so many more factors that influence pricing than just the materials with a little bit added on. There are so many more factors. And in fact, inside the Hub, we've got a lesson that takes you through all the factors that affect pricing. And this is what you will learn as you start doing. And one thing that I would say is people will always have different opinions as well on your work being expensive or your work is too cheap. It goes back to everyone having a different opinion on art and, or your art won't sell and this won't sell. It's so subjective. And again, people put their own perception of price onto you. Like, oh, I wouldn't pay that. And they might not be your people. So it's really important to find your place in the art world and you price based on that, not other people's opinions. Because somebody could tell you, well, your artwork is just too expensive. And maybe it is to them. But then when you start selling on social media through your own means and you use the 7 keys and you really connect with people and people really want what you have, there is no limit sometimes, and this brings me to another point of pricing, is getting really clear on what you want to make, what you want to earn, because this can influence your pricing as well. So when you start to think about what you want to make from your artwork and you think to yourself, I would really like to sell an artwork that's 3,000. That's what I'm aspiring to. You can start to put a plan into place of how do I get my artwork to that price point? And that's what Sharon's done recently. She started to put her pricing up when she found her place and she found galleries that liked her work, and she realized that they spend a lot more on artworks than what she was charging at the time, but her artwork just wasn't quite there. So she kept refining her voice and improving her skill. And then over time, her artwork has just gone through the roof in terms of sales. Now, in comparison to 5 years ago, she was selling pieces for £150. And now those same pieces are £1,200. And that's how much the pricing has gone up in that short space of time. I know it's a lot to some people, 5 years, but it's not really. And what she then started to do was think, right, okay, I want to sell for 3,000. What do I need to do to my artwork to make it that price point? And what she's done now is she's taken it to another level and she's got a £5,000 artwork. And what she's done is she's changed her material. So I share this with you because as you grow as an artist, this is what you can start doing. You can start choosing and aiming towards a price point, and you learn what you need to do to hit that price point. Where do I need to put it? What do I need to do? And so pricing in different levels is also a great idea. So this is more advanced. If you are just starting out, just stick to one price point, just get a price on it and get selling. But as you start to sell more, one great piece of advice that I always give people is to have a 3-tier system. So you have part of what you sell is called entry level. So it's the cheapest that you sell. And then you have your top level artwork, and it's the most expensive artwork that you sell. And then your middle tier is in between the two. And what this does is it enables you to do quite a few things. One, when people are buying from you, you've got 3 then different varying price points to offer people. So if somebody can't afford your really, really expensive piece, you've got something else to offer. So if they inquire, you can say, this is the price. They go, oh, it's too expensive. You can say, well, I've got this one available at this price point. So you've got 3 varying price points to offer people. And what that also does then is creates value perception. And lots of people do this. You'll have come across this before. Let me just think off the top of my head. Jewelers do this. If they have a range, I'm trying to think now off the top of my head who does this. Somebody did this recently. I think it was someone like Tiffany's. And they were selling a pen. And they had a pen that was something ridiculous, like $3,000. And they had another pen for $300. And they put these pens next to each other. And it's what it does, it's like psychology. As soon as you see those things together, not everyone, but the majority of people in their customer world who are used to spending this kind of money, what they start to see is, oh, that one's cheap. Because the brain starts to compare. You compare all the time. You're looking for differences. And so when people see that £3,000 pen, all of a sudden the 300 one seems like better value. It's the option. And this is a great way to show value in your work as well. So if you have something that's your original piece, for example, maybe on a bigger scale, that's your high end, that's your most expensive piece. And next to that is maybe a print of that or a smaller piece. And then all of a sudden, that one seems like, oh, better, it has more value. It's all of a sudden, it feels much cheaper because you've compared it. On the flip side to that as well, is people who buy from you are highly likely to buy from you again. So if somebody buys your entry-level artwork, a huge percentage of people are likely to buy from you again, and they might buy the mid one, and then they might buy the higher end one. So having those 3 price points work for many different reasons. Being able to offer different affordability, but also the perception of all of a sudden that work feeling like they've got much more value from it. So that's a great tip, is to have your entry, mid, high. And the way you can do that is to have your work as prints. It could be scale. So for Sharon, I'll use Sharon as an example. Sharon's was, well, right now, hers is now moved this year to her most expensive is £5,000, and that's her bronze piece. And that's, so her price range now has widened because she's now got this 5,000 piece. So last year, her most expensive was 3,000, and she's taken it up to 5,000 now. Now, 5 years ago, her most expensive piece was 800. She never went over that price point. And so now it's £5,000 her most expensive. So can you see how pricing changes? You'll evolve your pricing all the time. That's what you should be aiming to do. So every 6 months to a year, you should be putting your prices up and working on those 7 keys to increase your demand. And if you're making so much artwork that you're struggling to sell it, you put your prices up because that reduces the demand a little bit. You should be putting your prices up every year just by 10, 20%, because when you start selling, that 10% is not that much really to a customer, but it's a huge amount for you if you're selling lots of pieces. So you want to be slowly putting those prices up, or quickly putting them up if you're selling lots as well. So going back to Sharon with the price differences, so hers now is the 5,000 bronze. During lockdown last year, her entry-level price point was, she did these little birds, and she used to just sit at home making them really, really quickly. And she sold those, excuse me, I think for £10 or £20. And it was just a limited range of these. She just did them really, really quickly. But now her entry level are small little sculptures like this. And I think they're £150. So that's the cheapest now that she sells for. So it's about adjusting and playing and testing things and learning by doing and not being afraid to make mistakes. And sometimes you might make a mistake. And this brings me to cutting, slashing prices. So if you want to aim to have your pricing going up, but there will be times that you don't sell your artwork, and maybe there could be lots of reasons why it didn't sell. And in those situations, I think it's great to have studio sales, and if you've got an email list, email people out and say, I've got a studio sale, I've reduced the pricing. But I tend to avoid just slashing prices because you don't want to devalue your work. So if you've got a good reason for slashing the pricing, like I'm having a studio sale, I'm having a clear out, you're going to get this at a bargain, I'm working on a new collection, that kind of thing I think is great and it can work really well. But one thing that I see people do is they get scared and they slash their pricing because it's gone 2 weeks and they haven't sold anything. And they just suddenly just go, right, now it's half the price now. And it's the fear taking over. Or somebody might contact and say, I really like your artwork. Would you take this for it instead? And in those situations, if you can avoid slashing your prices, do so. And what you can do instead is add more value. So if somebody tries to haggle with you, which is going to happen, there are lots of people out there who are going to try and haggle with you because they're waiting for you to say yes, because they're thinking, if they're going to knock another $100 off this, then it's money that I didn't need to spend. So quite often people are testing you because, I've done it before where I've haggled. I thought, God, I could have ended up paying extra for that. I'm so glad that I asked. So when you're really confident with your pricing, it's up to you at the end of the day. You can leave room to negotiate and knock down pricing if that's what you want to do. But I avoid that. And what I do is I'm firm on my pricing. And instead I say, that is what it's priced at, but more than happy to give you a print or, add value instead of devaluing your artwork. And especially because if you've sold before as well, and then you slash the pricing, you've got to think about how that makes your customers feel. You really want to take care of the people that have bought from you, and you don't want to take a sale and then a month later they see that everything's half price, because people who buy from you are likely to buy from you again. So if you do slash prices, just make sure you word it carefully so it's for a reason. And don't do it because you're scared. Remember that you can really do more in terms of using the 7 keys to increase that desire and get your work in the right place and connect it with people and drive that demand for your work. You are in control of that. So don't slash prices because of fear. I remember when the pandemic hit, I saw so many people doing that, and it was so sad because that's your livelihood. Don't just slash the prices. So once you get going, there are many different ways to price. Do your research. You really need to get a feel for what other people are selling for. Have a look at other people like you. And I know it's hard because a lot of people say there's no one else like me, but just get a sense of what is out there. And then when you start to learn about your place and you start to strengthen your relationships with people, you will start to find your feet and you will start to become more confident with your pricing. And you'll own your pricing. And there are different ways to price in terms of per square inch, by size. There's lots of different formulas that you can use. In the lesson inside the hub, when you sign up, you've got a whole pricing lesson which breaks down the formulas for you. So you can use a formula. But what I will say is once you've nailed your pricing, you just know it then. It's like, right, I found it. I found the sweet spot. And then you work on, right, how do I increase this now? And how do I add more things? So I've got a variety of pricing, and you learn to just keep evolving your pricing. So if you're starting out and you have no clue, just find that sweet spot to begin with. And that's the hardest part. And when you found that, then you'll be like, woohoo. So I'm going to head to the questions now, and answer any questions that you have. I just want to check first that I didn't miss anything out. Yeah, one thing I just want to add as well is, where you put your work is really has an influence on pricing. So be really mindful of that as well. If you are pricing your work and you're putting it into certain places that maybe don't have your people or just aren't the right price point for your work, just be mindful of that in the future, because the worst thing you can do then is slash the prices because you think, oh, it didn't sell, so it must be too expensive. It's usually not that. So, and also talking about slashing prices and things being too cheap, yeah, that can be a reason sometimes why your work isn't selling. It can be too cheap. People sometimes are dubious. I am. I know if I come across an artwork that is, it's like an original and it's very, very, very cheap. Now, to me, someone sent me once like a £30. It was like a £30, and I was like, why is it that cheap? And it made me think it must be really cheap materials. That's what you start to think. You start to question, what did they make that with? So you do have to be careful as well of that you are not, and you don't want to price down that cheap end. Let me just talk about this. I've got to rant for a minute. When you go down the really, really cheap end, and when I say cheap as well, we've all, like I said at the beginning, we've all got a different perception of what cheap is. This is why you need to do some research. You need to do a little bit of research about where you're positioning yourself. And when you do that, you'll get a sense for what cheap is and what expensive is. And it's different for everybody. Sharon right now, her cheap, I don't want to say cheap because that just sounds awful, but her entry level artwork, which is the most affordable that she sells, is 150. And her most expensive is 5,000. Now, take someone else and their entry, well, let's compare to Sharon just a few years ago. Her entry price point, the most reasonable, was £10 and the most expensive was £800. Now, you might have another artist who's in a real high-end gallery that doesn't sell anything for less than 1,000. And that's their price range. And so when you start to get a feel for where you fit and you're carving your place out, you'll start to get that feeling for what the entry and the high price point is. And what you don't want to do when you start learning about this range, you don't want to be pricing right down the bottom all the time. You want to have a variety of things that fit, don't go down that entry price point competing with other people on price, because when you compete with price, what you'll do is you'll attract people that are shopping and buying based on price, and they want a bargain and they just want to hammer you down and they don't value what you're doing, and you're always competing on price and people are comparing, and it's hard when you are pricing that way. So it's much better to move away from that end and start to ask yourself, how can I add more value to what I'm doing? How can I be at this price point? What do I need to do? What does my art, what do I need to do to my art? How do I need to use these 7 keys to bring more connection? So focus on that rather than how can I make my art the cheapest out there and compete on price? Don't go down that route. So hello, Marley. So if you haven't got any customers, then go back to basics. How much did the materials cost you? How much time did you spend? And what is a price that you'd be happy with? And go with that. That's how you get going. And learn from doing. So then when you start to learn who your customers are, who your people are, which is what we teach inside the hub. So when you start to learn who are my people, who's my pocket of people, where can I start to put my work? That's when you'll start to learn about pricing, and you'll go, okay, this isn't quite right what I priced at here. I need to put my prices up. And so you learn by doing. Everyone is in the same boat. Every industry. It's the same with anyone. If you open up a cafe, you know, the first thing you'll do as a cafe owner is you'll go and have a look at what other cafes are selling for. Now, you might be in an area where there's lots of Subways and people who are selling down the cheap end. And so you might then have to ask yourself, okay, how am I going to charge this price? How am I going to show that value? Or you might be in an area where it's very affluent, and actually selling a sandwich for £8 is very reasonable. And so that's what you have to start doing, is becoming a bit of a detective and gathering information, learn by doing, having conversations, and eventually you will start to find that sweet spot that's right for you. And it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. And your pocket of people are out there. You have to find them. Yes. And that's what we do in the hub. Our motto in the hub is find your voice, find your people. And you have to find them, because they're not going to find you. So it's about how you pull out these connections between the art that you make. And we have this 7-part framework where we pull out your why, we pull out what you do, we pull out your purpose. And the more you pull these things out, the more people relate to what your art is, and they want to buy it. And you'll start to, either if you're selling on social media, you'll start to understand how to attract your people by conversation, by sharing your stories, by hashtags. And what we have found is when our members have started and they have no clue. I remember Simone joined. She had no clue who her people were, and she made a collection of artwork, and she priced it, you know, down the low end because she had no clue. And she started to build up her people, and she sold, I think she sold, I can't remember, it was like nearly the whole collection that she made. I think she made 8 or 10 pieces and she sold them all. So she put her prices up next time, and she sold them all again. And then she thought, okay, I'm going to do another collection. And now her pricing has gone up significantly to where it began. So yes, learn by doing. Hey, Lucy, I'm a bit worried. I will get so concerned trying to run a business and sort out accounting that I will freeze and not actually create any art. I feel like I have to be financially savvy and don't want to get in a muddle. So I used to feel like this. I have dyscalculia, dyslexia. I am totally rubbish with numbers. I can't even do the most simplest of additions and subtractions, like 10 minus 7. I have to count on my fingers, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it brought a lot of anxiety for a long time. And so I get that. I was scared to run a business too. But are you a member of the hub? I recognize your name. So in the hub, we have this spreadsheet, and it breaks down your monthly income, what's coming in, what's going out. And if you start to just track what's coming in and what's going out, and you can also do a forecast. So you forecast what, set some goals of what you would like to come in and come out. And the first thing that I did was I hired a bookkeeper. I couldn't afford one, but I did it. And I made myself afford it. I kind of felt I need this person. And it's the first person that I paid to sort out everything, because I didn't want to do it. and I wasn't even earning any money, and I paid them. In fact, I've got a podcast. I'm recording a podcast with them actually to talk about my journey. And in terms of the freezing and not actually creating any art, that can happen. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes we've had people come into the hub and they start to go through the 7 keys, and it does paralyze them for a short time because they're having to think about, okay, why am I making this? Who's it for? But it's a temporary freeze. It's because you're using the left side of the brain. The right side is the creative. The left side is all of a sudden the numbers and the planning. And hold on a minute, I've got to really think about who this is for. And sometimes that can, for a short time, just kill that creativity. But what we do inside the hub is we do as much as we can to light that passion back up inside of you. And we have lots and lots of worksheets about why you do what you do. And we have found that over time that ignites the passion in people when they really start to find what it is that they really, really want to do. There's no better feeling. And so it's then about just getting that balance. So I have left brain days and right brain days. Monday is my left brain day. So that's all the admin and all the things. And I don't have to be creative on a Monday. Friday is my creative day. No left brain stuff on a Friday. Everything about creativity, me making art. And so, yeah, that's how I manage that. So hopefully that helps, Lucy. Hello, Monica. When I talk about my art and the price to friends, they never fully understand. No, the work that goes into making a print, such as the materials, the creative process. When I allow them to see the process, they actually start to understand why it costs. And this is a great point, and this is what we do inside the hub, is help you bring all of this out. So exactly what you just said there is so important, not just to prove to your friends and families, but to your buyers. So when people price their artwork, quite often they just put the price on it. And the buyers don't see the value. And it's only when you start to talk through your social media about the process, and you create a website that shows what you do, and you create some videos showing this is how I make an artwork, this is what goes into it. Then your buyers go, wow, yeah, I want a piece of this. And so I love that you've just raised that, because I would spend more time explaining it to your people than your friends and family, because when you put your efforts into that and finding your people and showing your value to them, they're the people that will buy from you. Maybe your friends and family will, maybe they are your people, but quite often your friends and family, I'm generalizing here, aren't always your buyers. They're not the people who will buy from you, but there are some major exceptions. I know there's probably a lot of people here. It's like where you start out, it's your friends and families that usually buy from you. And then you start to go from there. You start to then find other people who you didn't even know before, and they go, can I buy? And you go, oh, someone I don't know. There's that feeling, isn't it, of when someone you don't know buys it. But I just want to say as well, don't be ashamed of selling to family or friends. I have loads of people that feel like a fraud because their friend bought a piece. It's like, no, it was a sale. Own it. Be proud of that. So yeah, Nicola, I think prints can work. Again, it's something that you don't have to do. It's trial and error. And I think that prints can really work. They have done for a lot of our members. There's a lot of members inside our community that have sold prints, and they do really well. And it's that entry level. And it's sometimes people are afraid to buy, and they buy a print and then they trust you and they get it, and they're in your world then. So it's sometimes nice to have that to share, and it's the ladder to something more expensive. So yeah, you can't just knock up pieces. They aren't your people. Let me just see. Let me just check the comments. If you've got any questions, let me know. Oh, Cindy has joined. Looking forward to getting started. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Oh, yeah, Simone's on watching. Hey, Simone. So yeah, $40 a year ago. I remember Simone's watching now, and her journey has been incredible. And you know, she learned from doing, just getting going, and it's been the most incredible journey to see, hasn't it, Simone? Simone's got an interview actually on our website. You can go and look on our website and see an interview from Simone. Excuse me. Oh, Katie, I always feel galvanized by these webinars. Thank you, Michelle. Got to go, but look forward to tomorrow's live too. You're so welcome. Hello, Susie. Yes, you can do it. Honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. And I remember years ago, I was absolutely terrified. Running my own business was never, ever, ever an option. I was always like, no, I never, ever want to do that. Yeah, you joined last week. I thought I saw your name, Lucy. I might have even just put your name on a post-it note, which is why it rings a bell, because I've got all these post-it notes that are new people that are joining. You're all going to be on that wall later today. So yes, Lucy, you will go through the 7 keys now. So it's going to be exciting for you. And we've got lots of resources to help you with planning your finances and breaking it all down so that you feel in control of your money. And we do review plan do sessions each month as well to help you remember to check in. In fact, we've got one tomorrow, so you can join in with that tomorrow for Hub members. We'll have a bit of a welcome tomorrow, and then we'll do a review plan do session, which is basically we check in to remind you to go over April and what worked, what didn't, what did you take in, and we remind you to fill in your form. So we're here to support you, Lucy, and big welcome. Yeah, be careful of that as well, Marley. Yeah, it's this perception. Again, the perception, and there are some people that will just expect artists to just do things for free. And yeah, because they don't see the value. But I just want to flip that around to you can carve out your people and you can get away from that. So let me see. Yeah, great one, Mac. Yeah, example of it's the decoy effect. Thank you. Selling popcorn, large popcorn, £7, small one 3, and most people will buy the small as the large one seems too expensive. And what you don't realize is that that one's expensive too. Yeah, yeah. In fact, inside the hub, we've got a whole lesson on selling, and it's not using. I think some people sometimes think that there are horrible tactics, and I hate to use sales car people because I know there's lots of lovely sales car people out there that don't use it, but they've got such a bad reputation. And I think it's because years ago, they were taught all these tactics. It's pressure selling and pushing on people when they didn't actually want something. And what we do inside the hub is we've got a whole lesson actually on how to sell authentically and how to use psychological triggers in a nice, authentic way. And there are psychological triggers that you can use, which encourage people to buy. And it's because that's the way we're programmed. And like what Max just shared there, it's our brain, it's the way our brain works. And there are different types of buyers. And this is what we explain in the lesson. There are impulse buyers, there are contemplators, there are deadline dancers, and there are ways that you can price as well, to encourage people and giving people a deadline and things like this. So inside the hub, you'll get all these lessons on selling, and it's done in a nice way. It's not sleazy tactics to try and make someone buy something that they don't want. It's to sometimes people need something. They need that comparison, or they need that deadline, or they need to see that they've got good value. You know, there are people that want to feel like they've got a good bargain, and there's lots that you can do to make them feel that way. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Amazing. Thank you for sharing this, Simone. My range starts at $75, working on my most expensive now on silk, $750. Incredible. Because I remember, Simone, when there was just kind of one price range for you, wasn't there? And it was it like the $40 that you were starting out at, and everything was around that price range. So now this is a great example. Simone joined, you know, probably about a year ago, and maybe a little more. And this is now how Simone has grown into her pricing in that short space of time. So hello, Kate. I haven't put anything out there to sell yet, but a friend has said she wants to talk about some work after lockdown. I want to get the price right, not too expensive but not too cheap either, because if more work comes from this, I may find myself stuck at one price point. So just remember as well that you are in control of this. So I don't want you to feel ever stuck. So if you price something and with your friend and you say, okay, this is the price point, and you know, work out your materials, and it's difficult at the beginning, you know, I think this is roughly how long it's going to take. Then you give her a price and say, you know, this is what it's going to cost me to make it, and to provide all the materials, and you know, have a nice conversation. So if that's done, and then like you say, more work may come from that in the future, then if you find that you are underpriced and your artwork is starting to increase, then that's a conversation to have in the future. You say, actually, my work is so exciting. My work is, you know, is going up. So just wanted to check in, because if you did want something, and it's genuine as well, then you say, you know, my work is about to increase. Actually, this is a great advice for everybody. Before you put your prices up, share that as well. It's great to share that, you know, I'm going to be putting my prices up next month. So if there's anything that you want now, get in, because it's really exciting that my pricing is going up. You know, it's an exciting thing. But yeah, don't put pressure on yourself to feel stuck, because you can frame that as it's more expensive. And yeah, just want to share that. Hopefully that helps. But I totally get this. You don't want to be too expensive, you don't want to be too cheap. I think that's everyone's dilemma, and it's finding that sweet spot, isn't it? So hello, Bhavana. So I have 5 to 7 paintings done, posted on my Instagram. So people like it, but no one is asking about the price or sell. What should be done? I have not started with my website, as I need to have a few more paintings with me to put on the website. Should I create a Facebook page? No, don't create a Facebook page. I would keep going with Instagram. And have you put your pricing on? So there is a rule, unwritten rule, and it's just a guideline of every time you post, there's like an 80-20 rule. 80% of your content should be about the value, your process, about where your inspiration comes from, the connection, your why, your what, the 7 keys. And then 20% is about selling, and it's about putting a price on it and saying, you know, telling about the why, and this is the price, this is where you can buy from me. So sometimes you've got to be really clear with how people can buy, that the work is actually for sale, and what do they do if they want to buy it, because a lot of people are scared. They probably like your work, but they're so scared to get in touch. So you've got to make this really clear for your social media, and you've got to share how people buy from you, what is the process, and weave that into your messaging through social media, because it takes courage for someone to just message you and go, I really like your work, how much is it? So you've got to make this as easy as possible for people and put people at ease. And this is what you can weave in through all your social media posts. So I would recommend, Bhavana, going to the social media lessons inside the Hub, because this is what I share in those lessons, how to start weaving all of this through your social media to encourage people to contact you. People sometimes need to interact 7 times before they buy. So if you're getting the likes, it means people are engaging. So you need to now encourage this and build those relationships, reach out to people, encourage them to contact you, make sure you're putting your prices on. If you haven't got a website yet, that's another, sometimes you can direct people to your website. So you need to do more work to bring what would be on your website to your social media. So sharing about you and all the questions that people might have about buying, weave in. So the social media lessons, and also you might want to check out the selling lesson as well, because that will help you communicate and convert more people into sales. Because what I teach inside the hub is there's a process of marketing and selling, attracting people. So we attract people into our world, then we engage with them. We share posts, we share about our process, we connect them to our artwork, then we convert people. And there's things that you can do to convert people into a sale. There's ways that you can word your posts, there's ways that you can reassure people, there's ways that you can build relationships up with people. And then the final stage is retain. You want to retain those people in your world. So I wouldn't create a Facebook page because you're going to lose all that momentum on Facebook. Focus on one social media platform. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's any questions. I can see lots of people replying, so I'm just... so should personalised work be cheaper or more expensive? So Rowena, I wouldn't focus on cheaper or expensive. I would focus on how much do these cost for you to make? And starting to look around at who else is making things like this. What are they selling them for? And then starting to price that way. That's what I would do. Yeah, so I just put that on. I would put prices on your social media posts using that 80-20 rule, yeah. You want to at least every week be putting a price on something so people know that the work's for sale. It's sometimes a prompt as well. And also it gives people a sense for what your price range is. Because if you don't put your prices on, I wouldn't contact you because what people are scared of, here's the fear in buyers. If you don't put any pricing on something and they absolutely love something they've seen on social media, they are scared to message you to ask how much something is, because then they're scared that they're going to get into a conversation where they can't back out. And that's a big fear in people. They're scared then that what if they make themselves look silly because they can't afford it? There's all this fear in buyers. And again, this is what we help you with inside the hub. In the selling lessons, we talk about this a lot. It's about the buyers. Your buyers have fear. They're scared of approaching you most of the time. They're scared to take a risk. What if they don't like it? What if this happens? What if that happens? So the more you can alleviate this fear, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning, when you start to learn more about all of this, your pricing will go up because you'll convert more people into sales. You'll make more sales. The more you learn about this and how to alleviate that fear, and you weave all of this into your social media, more people will buy from you because you're alleviating all that fear that they have when they haven't even voiced it themselves. So yeah, put the pricing on, yeah. But what I would do is don't just put, this is how much it is. Don't do that. Don't go, here's a work, the size, medium, price. It's just so, it just lacks the connection. And people don't like being sold to. Do you know, you've got to ask yourself this, do you like people just selling to you? A lot of people put their barriers up if they're being sold to. So when you do it in a genuine way and you create that connection first in a post and describe why the work exists or something interesting about the work, and then you go, by the way, it's for sale. Here's where you can find out more. Creating a little bit of conversation, it doesn't have to be big, just a few lines. That can make such a big difference when you put artwork price on a post. Yeah, there is a lesson on formulas in the pricing. So it's in the pricing lesson. So if you go to the bonus masterclass area, Sarah, you'll see the pricing lesson in there. Yeah, so you feel confident with your pricing, which is great. I just wish I could find more customers. So I'm not sure if you're a hub member, but this is find your voice, find your people. You'll start to have power hours now where you start to approach people, have conversations with people. And yeah, we've found the opposite, that since COVID, sales in the hub have been going up for people because more people are on social media. And we've got a lesson right now from one of our members who shared that she's had an open studio, it's done so well. So yeah, there's ways to do things online now, which is really exciting. Hey June, I've completed a commission. I'm not sure what to charge. This is the second commission I've done for this client, and I'm working on the third. I would say I've spent 20 to 25 hours on it. Any help with the pricing? So one thing I would say is always price before you even start the work. Never do a job without confirming the price with the customer first, because it's just going to be a big shock otherwise. So massive, massive advice to everybody. If you're working on a commission, price the work first. And I know it's hard if you don't know how long it's going to take you, but you're going to have to estimate. And that you always agree the price up front. And overestimate as well, you know, so add on. So if you think it's going to take you 10 hours, add on an extra few hours. So if this is a second commission that you've done, then speaking now from that customer's point of view, I am expecting that artwork to be around about the same price. It would be a big shock to me if you turned around and said, oh, by the way, this is going to be 10 times the amount because it took me 10 times as long. I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't have commissioned you if you'd have said that to me at the beginning. So this is why you need to do the pricing first. So, and this gets easier the more you do commissions and you know how long it's going to take you. It is hard at the beginning and you might sometimes get it wrong and then you adjust it next time. So, you know, I would say you need to go back to that client now. You need to price based on the hours and what they paid for before and compare. And if it's a massive, massive difference, then you've got to understand or try and see it from the customer's point of view, and say, you know, this one took me much, much longer. It's going to be more expensive. But the worst thing you want to do now is annoy the person because they weren't expecting it to be that. So I think on the third one, price it now. Decide that pricing now. So June, based on that first one that you priced, you need to now compare the size and the hours on the next one, and it needs to be kind of near enough in line. Simone, I have got a new microphone. It's not even plugged in. It's for show at the moment. Yeah, I've got this fancy microphone and I can never figure out before I plug in how to put it on. It always makes me panic that it's not going to work. Because I'm always lastminute.com. So, right, I'm going to wrap up now because I've just seen. So Shannon, again, yeah, if you know your who, where do you find them? So when you start to look at your who, if you're in the hub, we've got worksheets to help you with this. So go to the who lessons and you start to think about where are those people? What magazines are they reading? What books are they reading? What music do they like? What groups are they in? You know, what organizations are they following? And then that's where you start to find them. Yeah, so Lisa, that goes back to what I was just saying as well. So that's what we help with inside the hub, is how to help you start to find those people. If you want website lesson, there's a website lesson inside the hub that shows how people have their artwork laid out, so that might help you. Do pieces of 3 levels have to be different sizes, or is it okay to have different prices for the same size, same technique? So this is a tricky one because customers understand, from a buyer's perspective, and this is why smaller pieces tend to be smaller priced, because in a customer's mind, they understand that. It's like, that one's bigger, so that's why it's worth more. Now, I've seen people sell different price points. As long as you can explain to your customers and your buyers why, and you can clearly help them understand why that one is so much more than the other one, then it won't be a problem. But you've got to get that messaging across, because what you'll end up doing is, if you've got 3 pieces that are exactly the same technique, you'll be doing what was it that Max said? The price decoy. You'll drive people to the lower price one, because when they're looking at them, they'll think, well, there's no point buying that one because this one's so cheap. So you've got to make sure that you get that across in your messaging. Hopefully that helps. Oh, Mac, isn't that amazing? I've done 2 commissions that paid more than the agreed prices. They thought it was worth more. Isn't that lovely? There aren't many people out there that do that. Yeah. That's really nice. Okay, I'm going to head and I'm going to check all the comments afterwards. So if you want help with all of this, the hub is open for enrollment until Friday. This is what we love helping you with. And yes, welcome to all the new members that have joined so far. Can't wait to work with you. And it's for selling all types of art. So we've got people selling children's art, fine art, chocolate, sculptors, installation. It's a business plan basically written for visual artists. So, your who will be very niche for kids. So it's great because the messaging will be very specific. So yeah, it can help to sell. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to head, because I could sit here literally and talk all day long. So I'm going to head now because people will be watching the replay, and I'll be back tomorrow. So if you're a hub member, I'm going to be live tomorrow, and we're going to be doing a review plan do session together, where we're going to plan for next month and help you start to really think about what you did. If you're a new member, just join us. You won't know all the answers, but you'll see the process that we go through, and we'll give you a little bit of a welcome tomorrow as well. And then tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. UK time, I'll be live to talk about the hub more if you've got any questions about joining. But I'll also be doing a session on the biggest mistake that I see artists make, to help you understand how the 7 keys works. But even if you're not thinking of joining, you'll still get lots out of that session as well. So yes, I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.